The biggest mistake people make with exercise is thinking the problem is discipline. It usually isn't. The problem is design. Most of us know we should exercise. We start motivated, we make a plan, we mean it this time. And then, a few weeks later, it fades. For the last 6 months, I've been trying to build a consistent cardio routine. And I kept failing. But here's what didn't make sense. At the same time, I've stuck to 2 strength sessions per week for 2 years. 2 years. Same person, same life, same calendar. So why did one routine finally stick and the other didn't? When I delved into behavioral science, I realized something surprising. With strength training, I had accidentally followed a set of behavioral principles that make habits stable. With cardio, I violated almost all of them. Things like ramping up too aggressively, not anchoring the routine to a fixed time, relying on motivation instead of structure. Once I saw that pattern, the difference suddenly made sense. Let me show you what actually happened and 5 key behavioral principles for sticking to exercise that I learned. Last summer, I read the official health guidelines. On top of strength training, you're supposed to get about 2.5 hours of moderate cardio every week. And I thought, okay, that sounds reasonable. Then I realized something encouraging. Brisk walking counts as moderate cardio, and I live right next to a park. I already go there for walks, so my plan was simple. Just walk a bit faster, problem solved. The park is closed, the environment is nice. It felt like the easiest habit to build. But here's what actually happened. Some weeks I hit the target, some weeks I didn't. Sometimes I walked in the morning, sometimes in the evening, sometimes after work, sometimes not at all. I never fixed a schedule. I never anchored it to a specific time. It was always, I'll fit it in somehow, and which meant it was always optional. 6 months later, it still feels like a hustle. Sometimes I squeeze into the day if there's time. Some weeks I hit the 2.5 hours, most weeks I don't. Occasionally I don't walk at all. So I can't honestly say I built a cardio routine. I built occasional cardio, and those are not the same thing. And the strange part is, I thought walking would be the easy habit. And if you've ever tried to build a new exercise habit, this probably sounds familiar. But what confused me, at the same time, something else in my routine had become completely stable. For the last 2 years, I've been doing 2 strength sessions every week. Let me show you how my strength routine actually formed. 3 years ago, I started going to 1 private training session per week. Just 1. And that decision wasn't random. Before that, I had tried group yoga and Pilates classes, and I never stuck with them. But my mom had been doing private session twice a week for years, and I could see the difference. She was stronger, she enjoyed it, she was consistent. So, instead of trying another class, I copied her model. The gym was 5 minutes from my flat. I scheduled the session during my lunch break. Once a week, same day, same time, 5-minute walk. There was no commute barrier. And because the trainer was waiting for me, it wasn't something I could casually postpone. I also outsourced all the thinking. I told the trainer, I just want a general fitness session. That was it. I didn't design workouts, I didn't research programs, I didn't optimize exercises. I just showed up. And there was another important element. These sessions weren't cheap, but I treated them as an investment in my health, which meant sometimes choosing this over eating out or buying new clothes. It was prioritized. About 6 months in, I got curious about Pilates because of my back issues. So I booked 6 introductory private reformer sessions. Again, I didn't design anything. I relied entirely on the instructor. After those 6 sessions, she suggested I move into a small group class. She felt I was ready. So I followed her lead. The progression wasn't ambitious, it was guided. Since then, I never changed gyms. Same place, same weekly rhythm, same structure. Now it's been more than 2 years. And those 2 sessions per week feel normal. Not exciting, not heroic, just part of my week. And looking back, something strange becomes obvious. Without realizing it, I had designed this routine almost perfectly from a behavioral perspective. When I later read the research, the pattern became clear. It wasn't motivation, it was design. With strength training, I had accidentally followed a set of behavioral principles that make habits stable. With cardio, I violated almost all of them. So here are the 5 things I unknowingly did right. When I compared the 2 routines, the first difference was obvious. How aggressively I started. With strength training, I started with 1 session per week. That was it. It felt manageable. With cardio, I tried to operate at the full recommendation 2.5 hours per week immediately. And this is where many people run into trouble. Research shows 30 to 50% of people drop out of exercise within the first 3 to 6 months. And the highest risk period, the early ramp-up phase. Not because people are lazy, but because they increase the demand faster than their confidence grows. Early consistency runs on confidence, and confidence comes from small, repeatable wins. Finishing a session and thinking, I can do this again. With strength, I built confidence first. With cardio, I jumped straight to performance targets. So the first principle is simple. Tame your ambition. Don't ramp up too fast. Then I noticed something else. The second difference, timing. With strength training, it was always the same. Same day, same time, same 5-minute walk. It wasn't flexible. And that's exactly why it worked. When something happens at the same time every week, your brain stops debating it. It becomes automatic. Tuesday lunchtime equals gym. No decision required. With cardio, the timing was constantly shifting. Maybe tomorrow morning, maybe after work, maybe later. That's not a plan. That's a negotiation, and every negotiation drains energy. Habit research shows that repeating a behavior in a stable context reduces mental effort. Unpredictable timing keeps the behavior effortful. So the second principle is anchor the habit to a fixed time. Then another difference appeared. This third difference was what I was measuring. With strength, I didn't track performance, I tracked attendance. I knew I had shown up once that week. With cardio, I tracked minutes, and every week I didn't reach the full target felt like a failure. But behavior change research consistently shows that self-monitoring increases adherence. The key is tracking the right thing. In the early phase, don't track performance, track reliability. Things like number of sessions completed, how many weeks in a row you showed up, percentage of attendance. Those metrics build momentum. Performance metrics build pressure, and pressure is fragile early on. So the third principle is track reliability, not performance. Then I noticed something else. The fourth difference, protection from excuses. Most people plan the workout. They don't plan the obstacles. Rain, long workday, bad sleep, childcare, low energy. With my cardio routine, every obstacle reopened the decision. It's raining? Maybe tomorrow. I'm tired. I'll skip. With my strength training, that negotiation barely existed. My sessions were non-refundable within 24 hours cancellation. So if I wanted to skip, I had to decide the day before, not in the emotional moment. There was financial friction. And honestly, cancelling last minute just because I didn't feel like it would have been a bit embarrassing. That structure protected the routine. Behavioral research calls this coping planning. Deciding in advance what you'll do when things go wrong. If it rains, I still walk. If I'm tired, I go for 10 minutes. If I miss Tuesday, Wednesday becomes automatic. The problem isn't obstacles. The problem is deciding in the moment. So the fourth principle is protect your routine from your future low motivation self. And finally, there was one more difference. That difference was time. Here's the part nobody likes. This takes time, not weeks, months. With strength training, the routine didn't feel automatic after 6 weeks or 3 months. It took years. At some point, it stopped feeling like I should train and started feeling like this is just what I do. That shift doesn't happen because you declare it. It happens because you repeat the behavior long enough. Research on long-term adherence shows behavior becomes far more stable once it aligns with your identity. But identity forms slowly. First you show up, then you stabilize, then one day it just feels normal. If you quit in the first few months, identity never has a chance to form. And everything still feels like effort. My strength sessions feel integrated now. Cardio still feels like something I'm trying to add, which tells me it simply hasn't stabilized yet. So the final principle is stick with it long enough for identity to catch up. So here's what this whole cardio experiment taught me. It wasn't a discipline problem, it was a design problem. I tried to behave like someone who already had a stable cardio habit, without building the structure that makes a habit possible. With strength, I accidentally did it right. I started small, I anchored it to a fixed time, I reduced decisions, I protected it from excuses, and I repeated it long enough for it to feel normal. With cardio, I chased ambitious performance numbers, and that's not how sustainable habits are built. Planning and structure build habits. We all know we should exercise. That's not the mystery. The mystery is why it's so hard to make it stick. Now, I'm about to test this properly, because I'm moving. A new town, new routine, new friction, which means my habits are about to be disrupted. And instead of chasing 2.5 hours again, I'm rebuilding from the ground up. Small, anchored, reliable. I'll share what I learned once I've seen what actually survives real life. Because learning the theory is fun, but building something that sticks, that's real work. And I'm genuinely curious, which of these 5 principles are you currently missing in your routine? If this helped you think differently about exercise, you can subscribe. I'll be testing this properly over the next few months.